This presentation is going to actually, I think, layer on some of the presentations that we just watched. In terms of, there's a lot of technology that's out there today that enables really, I think, a revolution in commerce. But I'm going to talk today a little bit about how are brands using that, and what does that mean to brands and consumers, and how can we help enable them to really capitalize on all the work that we're doing in the mobile space. First, just a quick slide about mBlox. We've been in the mobile marketing and mobile payments business for about 10 years. We sit between the transacting brand and the consumer over 5 billion times annually. We've been around for quite a while. We recently launched a mobile marketing innovation suite called mBlox Engage that really helps enable what we call contextual commerce. It has hyperlocal functionality, as we heard about earlier, takes advantage of that technology, as well as rich push, and integrates in with payment suite. And what I think is really valuable about this is we think about this as kind of enabling context on steroids. So it's not just about where you are and who you are, but where you've been and understanding your behaviors to make sure that you are getting the best offers available. We also enable smart handset functionality. We talked about this a little bit earlier, which is how do you make sure you don't eat up the battery life? Are you pushing content when you're on Wi-Fi? Things like that. So I won't get into the details of that today, but I think overall there's a lot of technology that's out there in the market today that's enabling brands to make much better use of the opportunities on mobile, and they're not doing it today. So I get really excited about this. I think we are at the beginning of a complete revolution in consumer marketing. Smartphone usage, it offers the type of engagement. I mean, these things sit in our pockets. I don't know, I've got mine with me about 18 hours a day. It's the last thing I check before I go to bed, and it's the first thing that I check when I get up in the morning. There has never been a device that we've been that close to before that's that personal to us. It also enables a storefront in your pocket. You've got this device that's effectively a mobile salesperson that follows you anywhere, and brands are not necessarily taking advantage of that today. The biggie, and I think where all the money's to be made, is around consumer insight. Brands have massive amounts of big data, and I'll talk more about this in a minute, and they are not marrying it to the mobile experience or the purchasing experience today. And when that happens, there's going to be a massive influx in revenue into this space. And finally, the unified experience. We're seeing more and more now how mobile and the actual store, the physical store, are coming together. And brands are afraid of that today. They don't all necessarily know how to make that work. As much as Macy's is putting Wi-Fi in their stores, there are other brands that are trying to block it. But I think the bottom line is that marketers are going to have unprecedented amounts of information and the ability to reach consumers. And how do they capitalize on that? So this is a juxtaposition that really struck me that happened about 3 weeks ago. And I'm guessing most of you have seen this. Target has been really concerned because consumers are going into their store, they're looking at something they want to buy, and then they're buying it on Amazon. And they're really unhappy about this. It makes sense. So they're trying to figure out, how do I block Wi-Fi in my store? Well, I think most of us in Silicon Valley go, oh, it's not going to work, right? It's just, it's probably the wrong move. The flip side of it, though, and this is the other thing that hit maybe a week later, is Target has so much data about us. It's a little scary. They have so much data about our buying habits and what we bought recently that they can predict where we are in our lives. And they were able to accurately predict when a 16-year-old girl was pregnant before her parents knew. And the parents came into the store and said, what are you doing? And the store manager went and apologized a week later, and the parents said, you were actually right, and she is pregnant. And I think what it speaks to, though, is they have so much data about us. They could be applying this to mobile and creating these incredibly compelling mobile experiences in store, and they don't know how to do it today. And moreover, they're scared of it. So what do we have to do in this industry to help really enable brands to take advantage, marry that big data that they've been investing in and making a lot of money off of into the mobile experience at the point of sale, at the point when I'm walking down the aisle? So this is what we call contextual commerce. And what is it? So we think about it as a monetization practice where the content environment, where you are, pre-qualifies the consumer, the end user, as being more likely to purchase a product or a service. If I'm in Starbucks and you push me a coupon for a latte, I'm probably going to take advantage of that because I'm probably in there to get something to drink. Obviously, the benefit is consumer insight and a meaningful foundation for brand engagement. And this is what brands are looking for today. And this is how brands are going to really be able to capitalize on the mobile experience. So what's mobile's role in contextual commerce? I think what it means is that we are uniquely capable of realizing relevance to the consumer. The mobile device is really your lifestyle remote, if you think about it that way. It's something that you have with you all the time. It's capable of very robust brand-to-one connectivity. I think the key thing is making mobile relevant for the brand. How do you help them break through the clutter? How do you capitalize on in-the-moment purchases? So one of my favorite mobile apps and web apps is a brand called Gilt, G-I-L-T. If you haven't seen it, you should download it. And if you like to shop, or whether I'm not a big shopper, but I love Gilt. The thing about Gilt is they recognize what I like to buy. They engage with me every day through Rich Push. So, and it's not just about the push, it's about how they've captured their brand in their app experience. So it has a unique little ringtone that is unique to Gilt. So when it does its little ding, I know that it's Gilt telling me that there's cool things there for me to buy. They also really capitalize very well on in-the-moment purchases. I was at Mobile World Congress last week, and they pushed me something when I was there, and it said, those shoes you wanted, we have them in your size. And I don't know, it was like 10 o'clock at night, and I was delirious with jet lag, and I still went, bing, buy, and I had them a week later. So that is the type of experience that brands really want to drive consumers into. Gilt is one of the companies, I think, that does this really great marrying of the brand experience with the mobile context and the insights that they need to know what I want to buy. So how do we put mobile's relevance in motion? Well, we're already doing it today with SMS. Nearly 95% of SMS messages are read. How many of you get an SMS message and don't read it? Whether you want it or not, it's sitting on the front of your phone, right? You pretty much read it anyway. 70% of those are read less than 5 minutes from receipt. It is a great means for brands to engage with their consumers. Mobile coupons deliver really excellent redemption rates compared to online direct mail or newspapers or online coupons. We see a 30 to 40% redemption rate on mobile coupons. You're just not seeing that today. And the number of mobile coupons is actually very, very small relative to other types of advertising that's out there. And finally, if you look at contextual commerce conversion relative to TV, which is 0.01 to 0.5%, or web, that's 0.5% to 1.5%, we're seeing mobile at 5 to 10%. It's incredible. So we in the mobile space have a great opportunity to leverage the brand's ability to make more money. But we're not doing it today. So these are amazing statistics to me. Before I went to mBlox, I helped develop mobile applications. The average lifespan for an app is between 5 and 28 days. I don't know if you want to guess at how much it costs to develop some of these mobile applications, but it's, at least in the double-digit thousands and sometimes up into the triple-digit thousands of dollars, right? So it is a lot of money to be able to develop these mobile applications, and they're disposable. According to one industry source, 90% of all applications are only opened once. And if you have an iPhone or an Android phone and you think about your apps, I'll bet you have a few of those on your phone. And the engagement variable of the apps that are downloaded, the ones that are getting used, is only between about 5 and 10%. So, when was the last time any brand was happy with being relevant to only 10% of once engaged customers? They're just not. So the brands are really, really struggling with, via an app strategy, how can they be relevant to their consumers? And I mean, you all know what happens, right? The VP of marketing says, we need a mobile app. And then goes to the director of marketing and says, go get us a mobile app. And the director of marketing runs out and gets the mobile app built. And they're like, yes, we've got it. And we got our 100,000 downloads. And then they look back at the statistics around conversion or payments, and they're really disappointing. And they don't know how to improve the statistics. But we all know that the technology is there today to enable this. So some of this is what we're using at mBlox. Some of this is a lot of what we've talked about today and the presentations over the last couple of days. The technology is out there to do this. Mobile can help us target demographics, psychographics, geographic proximity. More importantly, it can help us target and refine. That hyper-local geo-targeting, really knowing where I am, where a consumer is, and what they want is really important. We can limit the taxation of the data plan by using Wi-Fi and limit the pull on the battery. And there is the technology to update applications on the fly without having to run it back through an App Store update. And more they do this, the more efficient and effective these applications are going to be for brands. Finally, the importance of strategy and analytics is going to be just critical. The ability to marry that big data that these brands have in their CRM systems into applications today and to use that relevance, because a lot of that's the missing link, is going to be critically important. What we're looking at is a cloud-based solution where you can push down this content onto the handset and you pull back up real-time relevant analytics and feedback on what's going on that handset and how people are reacting and using offers that are sent to them to make it a really powerful means of engaging with their customers. We built a reference application for Rio Ferdinand. Any Man U fans out here? Here we go. So Rio Ferdinand, if you don't know, is a very popular soccer player in the UK. And we worked with him to create a branded Rio app. And he has a huge Twitter following for the UK. He's really into social media. So his app downloads videos. And in fact, I got one this morning. It pushes it to me in the middle of the night when my phone is plugged in, so my battery's full, and I'm on Wi-Fi. And I get a new video that's sitting on my phone in the morning, and it's pushed to me, so I see what his new content's about. The last one was about Nike and what he's doing with Nike. And it's just a short clip, and it's very real. It's very Rio. And what we're seeing with this app, because of the content that's being pushed on a regular basis, is that 40% of the people 4 months after download are engaging with this application on a weekly basis. So compare that to using it once, 10% of the users using it once. There's definitely, with intelligent use of rich push and intelligent use of the right kinds of engagement, we can make these applications significantly more effective for brands. So a couple of the tips for both mobile and for brands. First of all, is be relevant, right? The data and analytics piece of this over the next 18 months is going to become more and more critical. How do we make sure that brands are able to take all of their investment in their data and analytics and recommendation engines and pull that into their mobile strategy? Be a complete brand. This is one of the things I talked about Gilt earlier. Gilt reinforces its entire brand in its app. From the time I open it to my purchase experience, it's straight up all about the Gilt experience. Activate context. It's not just who the target is and what the message is, but where they are, where they've been, where they're likely to go. And we do have that data. We have to be careful about privacy, and we all know that, but there are ways to do that, especially with opt-in on the phones. It's a responsibility that the brands have to take on when they build their mobile strategy, but we commissioned some research at mBlox on how willing were people to get to this pushed content. And with a proper opt-in, people are very, very willing. In fact, they want these offers. But don't spam them, or they will block you forever. Finally, push can be powerful. I mean, our roots are in a SMS company, but as we've developed rich push technologies, we find that rich push can be an incredibly powerful tool for bringing really relevant content down onto the handset and controlled through the Wi-Fi channel. And finally, find a way to make the consumer feel special. I think that's key, and a lot of branded apps today are in the dead zone, and so they're just not going to convert well. And until the application strategy ties in well with the payment strategy, that payment conversion just it's not going to work. I mean, we spend a lot of time at mBlox thinking about good conversion flows through payments. We have a payment strategy. But if you aren't engaging the customer up front, they're never going to get to that point. So finally, to remember, the goal isn't getting the consumer to transact. The goal is to get the consumer to transact again and again and again. There are brands, there are mobile applications out there that brands have built that enable us to do that, and there's some, I'm sure you have them on your phone that you tried, and you've been in it once and never before, or never again. Point of sale versus point of consumer. Point of sale is important, but it's really critical that we don't get caught up in the technology. It's the value that's driven to the consumer that's really the most important. And it's up to us as an industry, I think, to make sure that we're driving that value. We're helping brands understand how to drive that value to the consumer. Because as we all know, most of the brands aren't technologists, right? What's really important is that they have a great mobile strategy, and that's the mobile strategy that's going to get them there. And I think it's important for all of us here to make sure that we're helping these brands with their mobile strategy in order to get it right. Because there's a lot of wasted money in the industry today. It's kind of like the internet was in 1998 when everybody was throwing money at it, small portions of their budget, but it was all kind of experimental until it really took hold and we figured out what we were doing. We're at the same point, I think, in mobile today. And if we can help these brands figure out what their mobile strategy is, they're going to get there a whole lot quicker.